Welcome to the Best Ball Happy Hour here at 4for4 Football. As always, I'm your host, John Daigle, and a very special dad-friendly episode to accommodate for fathers out there. First off, you know him as the host of the Splash Play podcast, which I did not unfollow purposely, infamously last year, Chris Spags. Spags, how's it going?
I'm glad to be here, Daigle. Glad it's happy hour. I brought a drink. I don't know if Pete did for himself, but yeah, a healthy beverage, a green juice for Pete. But I'm excited to be here. I love what you're doing with the channel. So glad to ruin it for you on this one special occasion.
You're doing, I guess it is happy hour. You're going with an alcoholic beverage? Man, you're having so much more fun than me.
6% iced tea lemonade here. So I'll be fine to pick up the boy from daycare and be a competent parent for an hour.
I love it.
The other voice you hear, of course, is the man who would be my vote to ruin it. Actually, not you, Spags. It is, of course, Peter Overzet. I have yoga after this, Pete, so no drink for me, but I do have coffee. I'm a softie.
I like it. Yeah, I had my cups of coffee this morning on Best Ball breakfast. And I was trying to squeeze in a meal here in between drafts. Excited to join you on the Best Ball Happy Hour. I've caught some of the clips. Looks like you guys have a good time around here. And Spags and I think we'll fit right in.
You're also already getting comments that your audio sounds better in here than on the Swolecast. Everything sounds better away from the Swolecast, in my opinion. So that's wonderful. And we are here to draft a Best Ball Mania draft, as you've done. Pete, I believe it's going to be your 45th bullet, correct?
Mm-hmm.
As you have an ongoing quest that you can catch everyone up on to do all 150 live because you're a psycho.
Yeah, but I do feel good that I'm coming up on the 1/3 mark because this is slowly killing me. But yeah, we're streaming all of them. I draft 2 a week with Spags on Tuesdays. I end up doing 4 a week on Best Ball Breakfast on my channel. We'll do them on Ship Chasing, Swolecast, Fantasy Life, and do them here as well. And one thing I'm doing is a giveaway when my channel hits 15,000 subs. We're not too far off, close to only 1,200 away now. I'm going to do a $1,500 giveaway. And every time you leave a comment on one of my draft streams, you'll be entered. And that includes wherever I'm doing drafts. So the second the show ends, leave a comment on here. When we hit that 15K subs, we'll come back and I will count your entry into the giveaway here on the 4for4 YouTube channel.
You heard the man. Let's exploit him right now and leave a comment throughout this show and stream as we are all together in this Best Ball Mania draft, which has 2 more spots left for anyone out there who also wants to join. Spags, this will be my 19th or 20th. I'll have to look after. As I'm trying to do them all live, it's a disaster, Pete. I don't know how you're already on 45. All I did was slow draft last year, and so this has been a complete change for me. But how are you doing so far in it, Spags?
I'm at 47. I feel pretty good about it. I'm curious to see how Pete and I drafting so many teams together on stream affects what we're doing, because obviously, Pete's drafting all of his on stream. I'm drafting a decent portion of mine, but I think we're drafting good teams as well, because we do get some weirdos who come in and take 2 straight elite QBs, 10 straight running backs, and that kind of stuff. So I don't know what the EV is of streaming it all, but it's been fun getting some out there and being nicely where you need to be in June, I think, to actually max it out.
It's always fun, though, when the 1-1 burns their Justin Jefferson share with Allen Hurts back-to-back at 2-3 just to try to steal and poach the elite quarterback from other people. So I still don't mind, the poaching. It's great.
It's great sometimes. I mean, have you seen this at all, Daigle? There's snipe streamers out there who will stream while you're streaming and try to take some of your picks as well to try to, I don't know what they're doing before, but definitely a thing that's gaining some steam out there. So you're a target. You're an influential man, Daigle. So you're going to be a guy that might get some of your own snipe streamers.
Please don't vicariously rub that sniping off to me, Pete, as I have seen your streams where people will take 8 quarterbacks just to piss you off.
What is the vibe of the 4for4, stream team? I recognize some names in here. I see Alex Berg. Obviously, we got the 3 of us. Ice Cream Main was in my draft earlier. Have these guys been wide receiver avalanches, or what has been the overall texture of the happy hour streams?
Actually, I think it has been more a mix of everything, honestly. We like to take advantage of that 2nd and 3rd round running back dose between Josh Jacobs, Breece Hall, Derrick Henry, that tier. But other than that, yes, it's usually 4, 5 wide receivers by round 8. So if you consider that an avalanche, I'm not sure what happens on your streams.
Just absolute chaos. No, that I'm hoping that we can get a little bit of a normal room. It really does seem unique to some of the ones on my channel. We just did one on the Swolecast, seemed like a fairly normal room. Whereas like Sean and I this morning had to take like Curtis Samuel and Tyquan Thornton 40 picks ahead of ADP because the
Hell yeah.
so out of control.
That's burning it to the ground, truly. What have you done so far, though, Pete, in most of your live drafts? Like, is there a consistent strategy you keep coming back to? Has the room forced you to make like the same decision over and over again?
I would say I get pushed in all kinds of weird directions. So, I mean, in general, I am not trying to go against the wide receiver avalanche. I'm out here trying to just get out in front of it. But I do find myself getting pushed to a lot of weird constructions. I actually did my first punt QB and punt tight end build with Sean this morning, where our last 6 picks were quarterbacks and tight ends, which is definitely outside of my comfort zone. But I do really enjoy drafting in weird rooms, drafting with different people, and it just gets me on different things than I would otherwise do on my own, where I think it's kind of easy for me to just go on autopilot and be like, yeah, I can draft a good team, but I'm going to have a ton of teams that look very similarly. So I've honestly enjoyed kind of the variety of the draft rooms.
Spags, in your experience, since you've been drafting alongside Pete this whole time, any strategies that you keep coming back to, even if it's not on purpose?
I think to me, the main thing that I've had to try to adjust to a little bit, and this is something that Eric Beinfor covered a little bit on Spike Week as well, is just how tempting it is to kind of fall into, even in an avalanche where you see a running back value there and you decide like, oh, I want to take the running back here. For me, I know that my bread and butter is 0 RB teams, and I've been trying to kind of focus in on that more, as I'll hopefully do in this draft as well. Although then a bunch of running backs remaining, but I don't care. I'm taking Devonta Smith. That's the kind of thing where it's like you see Saquon there, you see Jonathan Taylor there, and I do think you want to take some of those running back values. That trap's happening to everybody now, so I just think there's going to be less 0 RB utilization than there probably should be. So that's the thing to me that, like, if you stay true to the thing that we all kind of started loving this for, I think you're going to do pretty well this year.
I've also noticed, because Hayden Winks has been writing a lot now lately on wide receiver 2s getting pushed up draft boards. But what's happened, in my opinion, is that people understand now drafting Devonta Smith. It may not happen here since you have AJ Brown too, but drafting Devonta Smith is basically as Barkley gets sniped. God damn it. Drafting Devonta Smith basically becomes drafting Devonta Smith and Jalen Hurts, since quarterbacks, as they open the big 3, open top 20 picks, now they're getting pushed back. Like Mahomes, you can get sometimes a full 12 to 15 spots after ADP, because once someone takes Kelsey, the other people don't want Mahomes necessarily to try to stack around him. And so quarterbacks have just been pushed down the board, all because people have gotten smarter, like New York Pigeons, adapting to their surroundings. People have gotten smarter and just said, I'm going to take the receiver, and thus I dare you to take the quarterback instead.
And people will still take that quarterback. And I think that's the part that's been tough for me, where if I want to get Diggs, and I'm hoping that playing that flags for Diggs, like sometimes you'll get Allen back. Sometimes you could sneak in a second rounder like a Jalen Waddle and get Allen back. And sometimes it's the guy who's ahead of you will just be like, no, that guy can't get Allen. And I think that's the tough part, is that I don't really buy into elite QBs, but the rooms also kind of make it tough to line it up the way that you want. So I'm probably going to have less of those guys than I want to, but I think that's just sort of the nature, the give and take of each room you're in.
Yeah, and I saw the Spags start. Someone on my stream this morning was able to get the AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, Jalen Hurts start, because, in these badge rooms and the more wide receiver heavy rooms, everywhere you're getting the elite QBs falling, but you'll get them really falling in these super wide receiver heavy rooms. So if you are going to attempt that start, I definitely love doing it in these rooms specifically, because a lot of people will be like, hey, I'm not passing on this anchor RB. I'm not passing on this last tier wide receiver. And then Spags might be able to get his Hurt share here at 3.8.
Don't jinx me here, because I'm really hoping that it'll happen. This doesn't happen for whatever reason when I'm not streaming, but on a stream, if I get this one, I'd be pretty stoked. So I'm sure Lock It Down or Maybach Muse here is going to blow it up for me.
Well, Maybach could get the Josh Allen stack with Diggs, which he should. So you should be good. It would be stunning if he took Hurts instead of Josh Allen here.
Watch, I'm going to have to stack Josh Allen with my Eagles double, just because that's how people love drafting sometimes on underdog. But he's a Maybach Muse, so he's got to be rich, I would hope.
Because of that reason also, that's why I've been like taking Kelsey in those first 6 spots and then just tinkering as pivots. Like I'll go T. Higgins late second, and Maybach did that. I'll go T. Higgins the second, and then try to come back with like a Burrow stack around Kelsey for week 17, as opposed to naturally gravitating towards Kelsey and Mahomes. That's kind of the way I'm just trying to get unique right now with those usually routine first round stack picks.
Yeah, I like that. I was listening to you and Pat talk on Legendary Upside about that, and I've definitely seen it playing out a bunch. And my take now is like, you shouldn't be taking an elite quarterback in the second because these rooms are just regularly giving them to you in the third. And you start to think as the summer progresses, how many teams are going to have the start where they not only get Diggs Allen, where they not only get AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts, but they're sneaking in a second round pick on top of that. And so if you're missing out on it, and then look at the 2v2 tier gap, like say you went Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts there instead, you guys are looking at Debo, who I just took, DeAndre Hopkins. Like that's a huge tier break, in my opinion, from T and Devonta. So that 2v2 looks very favorable. And I think you're probably just getting behind if you're making that quarterback selection in round 2 now.
If you're at the 112 too, because before this one, I had 4 drafts in a row where I drew 111 or 112. The constant for me in that last spot just seems to always go to double tapping Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. And just most of the time, then Justin Herbert will come back. It's like, okay, we can start our little Chargers Broncos week 17 stacks with the elite Chargers group.
Yeah, and that's what I'm kind of doing a bit here. I go Debo Samuel, Keenan Allen at that turn, pair Keenan Allen with Austin Eckler, and then we'll see what kind of Denver or Charger stuff we can build out the rest of the draft.
Did you guys see the DeAndre Hopkins to the Titans rumors starting to swirl right before the show? Very fun.
Is that only though because he's visiting on Sunday? Are people just gravitating towards the lowest hanging fruit and saying he's going to sign there just because he's visiting?
Maybe. I mean, I don't think he's got a lot of interest in him. Like, I don't think anybody wanted to trade for that contract. I'm sure he's looking for good money. I kind of think he's in that Zeke, Leonard Fournette, Kareem Hunt bucket where it's guys who value themselves at a certain level. The NFL maybe doesn't quite value them to where they think they are. A little bit different for a receiver, but an aging receiver, aging running back, maybe not that different. I think he's going to take whoever's going to give him the most money. And I guess Tennessee, they have those 20 passes a game to go around. So a lot of those are going to go to Hopkins.
And now I am looking at some potential options here. I think we're good there. Okay. Let's start filling some things out.
When your username from the 6 hole is Lock It Down, spelled like the Seattle wide receiver, and you start with Travis Kelce and 3 straight running backs, boy, does that sure feel like you're going to take your boy at pick 54.
It's a given.
He's not coming back to 67.
It's a given immediately. Spags, what has been some of the weirder builds that you've been falling into? I've already heard Pete's tirade on 4 tight ends suddenly becoming like a popular thing to do, nudge him towards that motion. I tried some high ceiling, what I consider high ceiling just on micro analysis, 10 wide receiver builds, like around RB fragile 4 running back builds the last couple of days, but anything weird you keep trying?
I think for me, the thing that I try to push the most is to kind of stay confined to the things that would be, the data you guys have at 4 for 4, the roster construction explorers out there. Like, I tend to think there's diminishing returns when you do push the 7th running back. Like, it's a little bit less of a diminishing return. It's like 22.9% compared to a 23.2% advance rate or whatever. But I've been really trying to stay within kind of the no-fly zones of like, here's what I think is going to be an optimal build overall. Obviously, if you take like running backs later, then you do maybe want to get to 7. But I've been kind of just trying to browbeat myself of like, if I feel uncomfortable with this roster, it's probably going to be a little bit better. In particular with like the plentiful nature where like I love drafting 10 wide receivers too, but my best teams last year were 7. So a lot of what I'm trying to do is kind of be like, just take the 7, don't get greedy with it. And I think that's the hard part is you love receivers, you want to get a bunch of them, you love running backs, you want to get a bunch of them. And I think a lot of times it's probably not the best rosters overall.
And I'll go ahead and buy a little ADP dip on Justin Fields here. And I will still take 6 wide receivers comfortably and just leave it at that. If I start off like 6 in a row from the 1 or 2 hole, I don't mind experimenting with that as well. Pete, what about you?
Yeah, I haven't done, Spags and I have talked about this on Splash Play. Conceptually, the idea of the 6 wide receiver and then stopping, it makes complete sense to me and how you're devoting your capital. What I find hard with it is sometimes if you're doing that, it means you're not getting an elite quarterback, which means you're not setting up stacks, which means I'm either needing to get tight ends or running backs to backdoor stack with my quarterbacks. But what ends up happening is I normally end up having a wide receiver I want to add on to a stack. So I normally get to 7 just out of necessity of really valuing having a couple unique stacks with my quarterback. And if you take 6 and stop, you have no flexibility generally for backdoor stacks.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. That's also why like Hunter Henry is accidentally going to be my highest roster player, just because he's always there. He fits in like these little round 17 and 18 builds with the Bills, since Dawson Knox continues falling as well. If you want to like skinny stack these players, and if you just stack Bills at the beginning, you could also just round that out for week 17 with Hunter Henry in the last round too. So oddly enough, like he's one of the shitty players I just keep drafting over and over again.
Yeah. All right. I do get my Justin Herbert here at 5'10" to complete the stack with Eckler and Keenan. I like how that worked out from this side of the board.
Mm-hmm. And Spags, you got your Philly stack going on.
We got Philly, and I did a thing that Pete knows where I'm heading with my 5th rounder, but it's like a little share of Michael Pittman, so I keep the flexibility for my boy Anthony Richardson, who is the only jersey, John, that I keep right next to me every day, just waiting for the moment. I don't care about Gardner Minshew being QB1 in June. We want Anthony Richardson out there in week 17, and I'll keep drafting him whenever I can, whenever on stream, off stream, it doesn't matter.
I talked about this on your stream a couple of weeks ago, Pete, where I didn't have much Anthony Richardson, but I would say the last like week now, I've gotten him more and more. It seems like he has cooled and settled in that 93 ADP range, and that's more than acceptable because it still comes like a full round after Sean Watson.
Yeah. He is starting to drop, which is nice. Spags is in the evolution of, I'm debating who I kind of got sniped on Brandon Ayuk. I was hoping to get Brandon Ayuk there. I will take Tyler Lockett because I was hoping Mr. Lockett in the draft room would take Lockett and then I could get JSN, but alas. But no, I was going to say Spags has evolved to where now instead of just willy-nilly grabbing Anthony Richardson, he is taking Michael Pittman in every draft. So then he's like, I got to take Anthony Richardson. I got to stack him up.
Got to complete the stack,
yeah. It's a nice little PR move by Spags to help justify those heavy bags.
Also, Richardson's another one you can kind of sneak stacks in the last few rounds, whether it be Alex Pierce, Josh Downs, Jelani Woods, I know is a favorite as well. If you're going 3 or 4 tight ends, list goes on. Oh, Maybach took Kyle Pitts. I was going to add him in. Okay.
Oh, what a loss for you to not have Kyle Pitts on your roster. How can you survive?
I actually don't have much Kyle Pitts either.
Yeah.
But from there, it gets a little tougher. Let's see here. I would have played it differently had I known. Okay, that's fine.
It's a steep price to pay for the Tennessee wide receiver too.
Who is wide receiver 1? Kyle Phillips?
No, DeAndre Hopkins. He's going where the money is.
Oh.
He's going. Mike Vrabel and him apparently were pals at some point, so it's over. It's a done deal.
I thought I could get Waller at 76. But that's why I didn't take him there. All right.
People love Waller. We've talked about that a little bit. I don't get it quite as much. An older guy who kind of was hurt a lot of last year and low volume passing offense. And I get the upside, like the ceiling is there, but at 70 and going up and up by the day, I just don't want much Darren Waller right now.
He's kind of the tier drop off for me. Like, well, no, I have started taking Pat Freiermuth more and more. But beyond that, it's kind of where I stop thinking about elite tight end and start automatically headed towards 3 tight end builds after Waller.
And I'm like the opposite in that I'm not opposite in that I have very little Darren Waller right now, mainly because when his price was elevated, that was right at the end of where all the good wide receivers went, Jahan Dotson, Rashad Bateman. And so I was normally prioritizing wide receiver. He's now starting to drop a little bit. And my whole thing with the, elite tight ends is you're trying to spike week hunt. And I do think Darren Waller still has that ability, along with the George Kittles and the Kyle Pittses and the Dallas Goddards, to go off for 25 plus. And now that he's falling, I do think he's like the cheapest of those guys that can realistically go off for a crazy game. And so I do want to make sure I'm setting him up. And also Daniel Dimes is starting to fall too. He's been one of the quarterback fallers over the past month. We're talking about the elite QBs falling. Some of the mid-range QBs have been falling too. We mentioned Anthony Richardson. So if you're getting now sliding Waller and Daniel Jones, I definitely don't hate it.
Oh, how about Chick at 75? That's probably not the wise one.
Maybe is this like,
one.
Okay, DeAndre Hopkins is going to Tennessee, who's going to take away attention from Chigakonkwo.
I think Daniel Jones is also falling just because the the stacking options outside of Waller are non-existent. Like everyone now also understands Jalen Hyatt's also falling. Darius Slayton and Isaiah Hodgins have become more popular, and you can get them in the last rounds. And so, like, thus everyone's skipping over Daniel Jones.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the thing is I kind of like that. I know that there's uncertainty with it, but I like the idea of like, hey, you have all these options, you know, between Jalen Hyatt and Wan'Dale Robinson and Darius Slayton, basically whatever flavor you want. To me, he's actually like one of the easiest guys to backdoor stack just from an option standpoint. Granted, we don't have the confidence on who's going to win those roles.
I have to quickly apologize to Pete because I am sniping him on a receiver here. I am taking Quentin Johnston to give me my 5th receiver here in the 7th round and get some week 17 correlation. But I have been accidentally sniping Pete a lot, so now I have to preemptively apologize when I do it.
I am good. I don't even know if I would want to triple him, Herbert, especially when I'm probably going to tack on a tight end with Herbert as well. And then I don't know if I'm going to like 4. But let's see here. I'm going to grab, do we have any fallers that I need to pay attention to? Swift is kind of interesting here, but let's just go ahead and grab Brandon Cooks, the last of this wide receiver tier for me, and opens me up to a falling DAC if I want.
I don't think this is too crazy of a room either, right? We do have, as we mentioned, falling because of stacks. We have a sinking Trevor Lawrence right now, 64. He's about to be 20 spots past ADP.
Yeah.
That happens a lot now. I mean, I don't know if it's just the market correcting really aggressively or just certain rooms, but I kind of think he should be in this Watson range, but I figured it was more the QBs would come up, and it seems like he's one of the guys getting pushed down the most.
Yeah, when you talk about which tier he belongs in, it's certainly closer to Watson, Tua, Daniel Jones, Geno Smith than it is like the Joe Burrows and Lamar Jacksons of the world. So it does seem like more of a correction than anything.
And Herbert too. Like I would put him pretty decently behind Herbert. Like I don't know. I've never loved the Lawrence price tag, and I'm kind of glad it's right. But I feel bad for people because there are people taking him in the 40s when BBM opened, and that's just not looking like good closing value.
I think wasn't it in the big board too? Like some of the first drafts, he was going in the 3rd round. Like people were double tapping Calvin Ridley and Trevor Lawrence at like the 3-4 turn. And I was like, oh my God, what is happening?
They were treating him as elite quarterback. That's what happened, is that like the big 3 also joined in with Trevor Lawrence for some reason. And it was so odd. That's also why I didn't get much of him or Travis Etienne. But now, like looking more into Etienne, I'm glad I didn't end up with much of him.
Yeah. I'm sweating here to see, am I going to get my first Alexander Mattison share? We will find out here. Yes, we are going to get our first Alexander Mattison, 11 picks past ADP.
Good. Also, the consigliere mentions, Pete, that you apparently need to explain what happened with the Kitchen Swolecast mission failure.
So, yeah, the Swolecast was a shit show. I was doing my first Underdog Cardio Club, and then Kitchen was supposed to get these secret challenges to complete. And he made it seem like he got these like bizarre randomizer challenge where it was like just draft a bad team. And the challenges were actually pretty simple and achievable. Get an elite tight end. He got 2 of them. He just completely botched all of them and drafted a truly horrendous team in a way only David Kitchen could.
That seems very Kitchens-like. I'm not shocked at all.
It was.
The man just churns out catchphrases, though. You got to give him credit for that. I'm not part of the Kitchen's learning tree unless Pete being part of that tree somehow puts me on it. But I think I'm impressed by the branding, if nothing else.
Oh, Kitchen will graft you onto his tree if you'd like.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take it. He's doing a great job, I think. I enjoy the streams.
Gosh, I've kind of pinned myself in a corner here, too.
Snipe Spags on Anthony Richardson will be good TV.
Nobody wants to see that. Jamison Williams is what the people want to see.
Spags just sweating so much. All day.
All day, you reckless bastard.
What a jerk. What a jerk.
No, this was huge. Hang on, Spags, where did you pick? What pick were you at?
89,
okay.
But I took Swift at a massive value.
Oh, yeah. You had to. That's the thing. If you, but that was so much growth. Spags from a week ago is just windmill dunking Anthony Richardson there at pick 89.
Certain point, Pete, you got to recognize what the EV might be on your drafts, and you got to go, hey, I believe in this. That said, I know that things can go differently, and Gardner Minshew could start 10 weeks, and I think that's the max, but he can start 10 weeks, and I could be like, all right, playing for week 17 here.
Is he your highest roster player, Richardson, right now?
Yes, he's at 33%. I think 34% after the streams I did with Pete yesterday. So he is my highest for BBM, but definitely have some higher guys at other portions. Like I had 51% Kincaid pre-draft and all that. So not the biggest stand of all, but certainly money-wise looking like it's going to be my biggest stand.
I think Lockett and Keenan Allen are my two right now, just the way they fall. But yeah, Hunter Henry. And if you ask me the most over-rostered bad picks, it's Hunter Henry and Rashee Rice are my two highest.
What do you got on Rashi?
Yeah, I don't want to be rude, Daigle, but I have to point out, two bald guys being your top owned guys. Is that a little bit of like Costanza-esque bald guy solidarity?
It might be. And for Rashee, I got, I think I'm at like 31% right now, Pete.
That's nice.
Okay. Good. That's spicy.
It's pretty spicy. He is
I'm guessing
my favorite
you
of the
got,
bunch, though.
You probably got a bunch of those around like pick 150, though. If you have that much, you were drafting him before he rose.
And I'm using my curated rankings I have for everyone at 4-for-4, and I have him higher than most wide receivers in this range, just because like I want to take a chance on his upside over someone like Allen Lazard, Jacoby Myers, Tyler Boyd, like these guys who I just genuinely don't even think have ceilings I care about. Yeah. No, that makes sense. So I usually just skip kind of this next upcoming tier of wide receivers, even though this is 100% going to be a 9 or 10 wide receiver team, because I kind of missed the boat here. That's the thing about reaching for Justin Fields, even though it was a dip on ADP, is that you lose out with the receiver round.
Right.
We'll mess around with it though. All right, Spags, you got Charbonnet.
Yeah, this is usually the run where I go pick up a bunch of running backs because I think that's the way that I've kind of adapted from last year, where I got a little too fast and loose with the running back draft capital. And again, you know, the great Pat Carrane, who we always hype up when he's been talking about legendary upside, the idea of viewing it like an auction draft, I think one of those things that resonated for me with hearing him say it out loud. So I've been trying to be mindful, and I'll probably go on a run of running backs here because this is my favorite running back pocket in the draft.
Brian Robinson is like the least fun, most competent running back selection anyone should have in this range. Like, dude, over 18 carries per game without JD McKissick last year, who obviously is a free agent now. And best of all, like for these 49er stacks, because everyone's drafting their elite players in the top 60, but then Brock Purdy's also an 18th round, just tag along. You can round out your stack and still have Brian Robinson for week 17. I always lean towards him in this range.
I like him. I think people love Antonio Gibson because he was good a couple years ago, and that's really the main reason, but he hasn't been analytically good the last few years. And the Chris Rodriguez stuff kind of scares me a little bit, though, because they did go out of way to get him, like Eric Bieniemy, a new coach coming in. That is sort of the litmus test of if a guy can win over the new coach or not. And if Brian Robinson doesn't win him over the same way that he clearly did Ron Rivera last year, there is a risk profile for him, but I would still take him because he got shot in the butt last year. Like, you got to give a guy a little bit of slack because he's still got the volume, got shot in the butt, and he was actually really good in college too.
I was curious to see what Devo did here. I was going to select Dak Prescott if he came back to 111. I kind of didn't want to like use this much draft capital at quarterback after taking Herbert, but I would have stacked him with Brandon Cooks past value, and then Devo takes an unstacked Dak Prescott there along with Deshaun Watson. So kind of an interesting move there. I am going to, I think, buy what Daigle is selling with Brian Robinson. I'm just scanning the board. AJ Dillon's there as well. I don't love an AJ Dillon, Alexander Mattison. Oh, and my draft board just refreshed. I might get timed out. Brian Robinson. I think that's what's going to happen.
You did.
Yeah, I would good. I had him in my queue. I had a weird glitch refresh on my underdog screen. I was just going to say, I didn't love the AJ Dillon, Alexander Mattison week 17 correlation, but I do like the Brian Robinson, Deebo Samuel a little bit more, I think.
And I'm actually going to take Daniel Jones here because I could wait at QB a little more, but I think he has a nice value. And again, as Pete talked about, and it's talked about a bunch, you just get his guys cheap late, which I do like here, and give me some flexibility.
If you didn't, I was probably going to, even though I still struggle with the idea of when to use my quarterback capital QB2 whenever I draft an elite quarterback, like Pete was saying with Justin Herbert. I don't like to do it, but I understand that sometimes I need to do it. I'm going to have the worst wide receivers. Goodness gracious. This is unbelievable. Okay.
What, you're not a Jacoby Myers guy? Is that the best wide receiver on the board right now?
Yes,
far as
I'm not.
ADP, yeah.
I'm not drafting Jacoby Myers from Aiden O'Connell. No, thank you. I got to start figuring this out. Here, let's do this.
Ooh, Aaron Rodgers.
Well, we got Aaron Rodgers to Breece Hall. I can figure some things out here.
Aaron Rodgers, another guy in my queue, is going to push it, see if with my Garrett Wilson. But Rodgers has been a guy that's been falling in some drafts too, so I've been just trying to push it with him.
Which makes sense. Like, he should never be going. I mean, I did it this time, of course, but Aaron Rodgers should have never been going over like Geno Smith and a couple others. Let's all calm down.
Based on the Super Bowl odds, though, you can make a case that I don't think he should fall as much as he does. Like, I don't love the old QBs, and I probably don't have a ton of Aaron Rodgers. Certainly a fan of the other AR more, but I think that that's one of those things where, like, they're a top 6 favorites to win a Super Bowl, like top 7, like somewhere in that range. I haven't checked the markets this week, but it's definitely high enough where, like, you should have confidence in them scoring points and have confidence in them being a winning team, and I think that does bode well for fantasy too.
Mm-hmm. Plus, I'm going to be done with quarterback now. Gosh, wide receiver though, man. It's not pretty.
That's why never not your RB. Always your RB.
I did Rashee Rice may come back to me though. That's why I kind of like pushing it. I have enough. I think I'm going to buy high on Michael Gallup. 2 years removed from reconstructive knee surgery. We're no longer worried about that. This is going to probably be a 3 tight end or 4 tight end team too. Okay.
Uh-oh, you're one of the 4 tight end bros?
I may have to be here.
Yeah.
We'll get Conklin last round. Conklin always falls. He just falls to the Aaron Rodgers person every time.
Not every time, as Pete could attest.
Yeah, I mean, come on, Daigle, please. It's a real knife twist right there.
Whenever someone snipes Tyler Conklin at 189 ADP from you.
Yeah.
Okay. Also in the chat, Pete, ML would love if you get your first Will Fuller share here.
Tell me what team he's signing with, ML. You got to tell me, is he signing with the Chargers? Is that why this is the perfect spot to do it?
The local nursing home will gladly take him on.
Thank you, Ice Cream Main, for taking Kendre Miller, so I didn't have to take him in the 19th straight draft. I'll go Khalil Herbert here, a few picks past ADP.
Kendre, he goes too late, right? Because I also find myself taking him a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you usually is like RB4 or my RB4 or RB5 usually.
Yeah. I think he's a great pick. One of my favorites.
Elijah Mitchell also. I know Dwayne McFarland, very high on him. Provided standalone value in terms of carries anyways, even though Christian McCaffrey was there.
I just don't see them wanting to give McCaffrey 300 touches. Like, if they can avoid that, I know that's not a data thing quite as much. Like, I don't know if there is enough longitudinal data to say like, oh, this team is saving a guy for the playoffs. Cause somebody asked that in our YouTube comments the other day. And I was like, I don't have the answer to that really, but I do think football wise, it does seem like how he played last year. And certainly if Mitchell's ready to go, like, he can take 10 touches easy. So can Jordan Mason. So can Tyrion Davis-Price. Like, we know what the Niners want to do. So I don't think you should play out of type too much.
And Mitchell didn't necessarily take away from McCaffrey as much as he just provided value on his own. Like, they'd still split McCaffrey out to wide receiver. McCaffrey in the 6 games he played with Elijah Mitchell still led all running backs in share of team targets. And so, like, he still has that upside CMC does with Mitchell healthy and on the field. It's no worries.
Yeah, I would have also really liked to have gotten Jalen Warren there, but that's fine. Sometimes Jalen Warren's going to go in the 130s, and that's life for another week until he goes in the 120s.
Yeah, he's on a rocket ship right now. I mean, he does have to settle eventually. Like, I mean, when you look at the names here, he can't flip like Eli Mitchell and Kendre Miller. But I mean, this spot where he's at right now, I mean, this feels like his ceiling, like 130. I don't know how he could get higher than that.
Feels like a good time for Rashee Rice is what it feels like.
I took Skyy Moore and my 3rd straight Skyy Moore share in 2 days, so you could get Rashee Rice.
I appreciate it because I don't think I'm going to end up with any Skyy Moore whatsoever.
And I'm the opposite in that I had 0 Skyy Moore until yesterday, and now 3 straight. I don't know. He's finally starting to drop in my drafts. I hadn't been getting any of him, and I've gotten him 3 days now, all at least around past ADP.
The Chiefs special teams coach came out and said they're changing up returners, like they're making the competition wide open for both kick and punt return teams. Richie James, as we know, was the team's punt returner for the Giants in the playoffs last year, who's on the Chiefs roster. I know Beimfor also takes Richie James a lot in the 18th round. But dude, like if Skyy Moore doesn't win the punt return competition, which he was bad at last year, like what does he do? Like what does he offer this roster at all? They would just healthy scratch him.
Yeah. Trust me, I think there's a lot of risk. There's a reason he's going at pick 135 and not at pick 70 where he was going last year.
That's Tony now. Tony's 70 now.
Right. And I do think I don't think anyone has concerns about Kelsey. Like he's a first round pick in every draft, but there are legitimate concerns about Tony. And at some point you say, Mahomes is going to Mahomes. The Chiefs are going to Chiefs. Someone is going to be the beneficiary here. And I like taking stabs on all these guys. I do think Richie James is a great late round selection, but if there is one of these other guys, I want shares of Rashee Rice and I want shares of Skyy Moore. Like, I don't know who it's going to be, but I want a piece of it for whoever it is.
I think I can wait on this next tier too. Dude, Tyquan Thornton also. My God, I didn't realize he rose like 10 spots in the last week.
He's rising like a couple spots every hour right now.
Yeah, great camp reports. Always going to do it.
Mac Jones is another one I'm going to have too much of in like QB3 builds just because he's always there and easy to stack. Have you messed around with Ty Montgomery as a wide receiver on Underdog a little bit yet?
I have not done that kink yet. Tell me about it.
He's always there in the 18th round, and he's a wide receiver just like Cordarrelle Patterson was. And Cordarrelle Patterson paid off as a wide receiver 8 or 9 in builds. So that's the kink. Feels pretty good. Tie the noose around your neck and tighten it.
Jeez. That's the kind of stuff I'm used to from Spags on Splash Play. I didn't know we were going to get that.
I'm on my best behavior. I know for 4for4 is a legitimate company. So I know,
yeah.
I don't want Reed calling me and
they hired me. Like, I think this is a safe spot for anything.
I'm playing the hits this draft. I was going to take Dulcich if he fell, going to get I want a little Denver bring back there. I've been taking a lot of Tim Patrick lately because I've been missing out on Mims. But Mims, my most drafted player in Best Ball Mania, come on down here at pick 154 when a Herbert stack bring back.
I do like Mims a lot. Denver's also another one that's pretty easy to stack later on if you prioritize the Chargers early.
Yep.
Even speaking of my kinks, getting some Marquez Callaway in your life, who Sean Payton loved.
That's a real kink right there. There's a very small online community of people who enjoy that one.
By that one, you mean it's just me. There's no Reddit thread for Marquez Callaway.
Is it a kink if only one person on the planet likes it?
Maybe I'm starting it. Adam Troutman is an 18th round kink though. That's actually growing, I think, with every passing day.
Did you say 19th round?
Well, he should be 19th, but
I mean, that is a kink if they're specifically unlocking an extra round of draft just so you can get your Troutman rocks off.
Got to get those 4 tight end builds.
Speaking of 4 tight end builds, I did take Gerald Everett to complete my onslaught of the Chargers, but I do now have bye week bros, get your pitchforks, get your tiki torches. I have 2 tight ends with week 5 buys, which means I do have to select 3 more and get to 5 tight ends.
I think your kink is taunting the bye week bros.
It is. It gets me so hard.
You do like doing that. Okay. Gosh. I have Cole Kmet buried. This is my first share of Cole Kmet, by the way.
What a discount.
Okay.
Though. Yeah.
That's a great discount on your Fields stack too.
Yeah. It's Fields in Atlanta. Yeah.
I wrote about this exact thing on Fantasy Life the other day, that there's kind of now this tight end dead zone forming because everyone wants the elite quarterbacks or the elite tight ends or the punt ones. And so these guys like Dalton Schultz and Cole Kmet and Dawson Knox have been falling big time. And just knowing like, hey, if you are the Justin Fields drafter, if you want to backdoor stack something with Schultz, like get these guys at a huge discount because the room's giving them to you. Like the room doesn't want Cole Kmet in the first place for like structural reasons. Mm-hmm. And then you have already cornered the market on him as the Justin Fields. You're the most logical person to want him. And then you can use that to your advantage like you just did and got him, 24 picks past ADP.
which is much more reasonable than jumping ADP for DJ Moore in a low passing environment.
Right.
Because right now, DJ Moore, he basically gets reached for just to fit Justin Fields' 44 ADP.
Yeah.
He's had some nice camp reports, though. Some apparently every time the press is there, he makes one outlandish catch. And I think those are the kind of things that it does start the drum beat for, I think, the casual drafters a little bit more.
Well, he's good. I like DJ Moore a lot. It's a big reach every time, in my opinion.
I agree.
Okay. I think we may get a little bit of a discount here, depending what all day does. We'll see. Done with quarterback. Good. Did he get autoed for highest ADP?
Let the tilt run through you. Isn't it nice,
Oh.
Spags, to have someone else to draft with and just let them be the vehicle for tilt while we get to just chill out?
I mean,
I'm
if
not
there's
ready.
anyone recipe to success that I would say for anybody streaming out there, just get angry at something. Doesn't matter what, just make it believable and get angry at something every stream, and you'll probably be crushing it.
I mean, I don't want. Okay, we're gonna go Hunter Renfrow getting cut narrative here.
Ooh, big contract.
Hunter Renfrow saving money for Jacoby Myers to play from the slot, and hopefully Renfrow then signing with the Bills for cheap. That's what we're doing here.
There you go.
Galaxy burning my wide receiver 9.
Trent Sherfield is getting a lot of Bill snaps, it seems like, too, so far. Like
Yeah,
all the I see,
I kind of liked Braxton Berrios too to come out of that, but Trent Sherfield seems to be the one that's catching on.
Well, Sherfield's
And-
in Buffalo.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Braxton Berrios is Miami. Yeah.
Yeah, he's, I think, the Miami wide receiver 3. Like, I think he's a better spot for that than doing, again, an elevated Trent Sherfield thing, but he's a better pick than Robbie Anderson or Chosen Anderson, who people ask about sometimes.
And I still think Kincaid takes Sherfield and Khalil Shakur off the field more so than Dawson Knox, which is why I also think Knox's ADP is just wrong, but he's dropping, so everyone can then take him. But yeah, have you heard anything on Khalil Shakur? Because he's someone who started off hot, and then from Deontay Hardy and every other signing, I haven't heard anything about him.
Yeah, I read every athletic article just to give that sliver of an edge that the information hopefully gives you. And I have not heard him mentioned once in a positive framework, or maybe they've talked about him within a context of a wide receiver room. But it really feels like I thought he was good last year, but I feel like he just fell out of favor for whatever reason, while Gabe Davis continues printing checks every week.
What is the best sliver of athletic information you could give us and ruin ADP advantage right now that you've heard so far?
Oh, man, that's tough to pinpoint. I think this, so I didn't say this when you guys were talking about it, but Skyy Moore was running with the starting wide receiver 3 group. And I think that's when I was surprised didn't lead to him going upwardly in ADP, because it was him, Tony, and MVS out there with that main group. And Pete's pointed out, the OTAs don't matter as much as training camp, but it does give you an angle in which way they're leaning. And a lot of the reports were also that Rashee Rice is competing for that wide receiver 4 role, kind of a downfield threat position, and that he's competing with Justin Ross and John Ross, who's also there, still hanging around the league. So I think Skyy Moore is a little safer than people think, but I get why. He wasn't great last year, but I think he's going to get a lot of those kind of chunk rub route kind of plays.
All right. I was in a weird spot there. Was hoping to get Chuba Hubbard, one of my favorites. I end up doing what is becoming a pattern of behavior for me. Another one of my new kinks, handcucking there. But Deontay Foreman at pick 183. Those are the spots I'm willing to take 2 guys from the same backfield where Foreman represents the end of the tier. I guess Tajay Spears is there with me as well. But do end up with Khalil Herbert and Deontay Foreman, but both well past ADP as my 5th running back.
I didn't even notice we had 169 Zach Evans happen out of nowhere.
Oh, wow.
169 day 3 running back. Interesting.
We've had some interesting rogue picks there. There was the all-day Darren Waller, Chigakonkwo back-to-back picks. There was another weird one. I forget. Someone in the chat might have pointed it out.
This is tough.
Ooh, I know. I noticed the theme for the one hole. Gage loves him some rookies. Bigsby, Bryce Young, Jalen Hyatt, Josh Downs, Zach Evans. That's the pattern of behavior.
Good God.
There.
Yeah, you gotta like rookies, but Zach Evans at 169 is just not a good usage of draft capital at this point. I think
Josh Downs doesn't Josh Downs usually have like a 180 ADP too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
And Zach Evans is a guy you can get in the last round of most drafts.
Yeah.
Maybe he's going to get really off the beaten path for his last 3 picks, so he doesn't have that capital to use, theoretically.
Robert Tonyan is also hasn't made my kinks yet, but 18th round touchdown guy, sure. Why the hell not?
We were talking about this.
If you don't get commit 24 spots past ADP.
I know. I honestly, like, Tonyan wasn't on my radar at all. And Clay brought him up on our club draft yesterday. To me, like, what I thought was a good point about it was less about drafting Tonyan and more just about being even more price conscious with Cole Kmet. You know, if he is in some kind of tight end committee, you want to make sure you are not reaching for him whatsoever.
Gosh, it's got to be the worst idea ever to double stack the Titans and not have a Texan either, right? Like, that's got to be the worst thing I'm thinking.
Maybe this will be the year they finally learn to pass. They learned the forward pass exists. They embrace it.
Kerrane keeps touting Robert Woods. He's right here.
I took Bellinger. Come on.
Bellinger's got to be winning the all shorts team right now. Like, he showed up with 40 extra pounds of muscle in his biceps. It's insane.
He's ready to stream some best ball drafts at this point for, well, certain kinds of them.
Yeah. Sam Howell went.
Well, wow. Wilksy just wiped out my 2-starred quarterbacks in my queue. Brock Purdy and Sam Howell. I mean, makes sense with their build of getting to a 3-quarterback build. Although unstacked Brock Purdy is an interesting one, I guess.
Wait, so are you off the Trey Lance train?
For what?
Because you said you were thinking about taking Purdy. You're going to take Purdy over.
Oh, yeah. Brock Purdy's the starting San Francisco quarterback. The Trey Lance play is you're hoping for a trade.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. We had to that one I feel like has been fairly I feel like the Niners have told us enough.
And he's not even
Purdy is their quarterback.
He's not even being used with the ones right now at OTAs. Like, they're giving Sam Darnold all the first team reps.
Yeah. Let's see here. All right, we're gonna have to get weird. We're gonna get weird here. We're gonna grab a guy that Sean was hyping up to me on Best Ball Breakfast today. Desmond Ridder. Just running out of names here. I've done a lot of backdoor stuff with Mac Jones, but I don't really have anything with New England that I like to set up. We're gonna grab Ridder.
I like you calling it backdoor stuff.
I mean, this is the theme of this show is kinks.
It is happy.
We are into backdoor Mac Jones. We definitely are. I'll claim that. I'm looking at what the hell else. Like, I got to get, oh God. I got to look at this team. This may be 4 RBs.
I love the Purdy chats and jokes in chat, by the way. Unstack Brock Purdy. What is this, the Mitten 14?
God, that's how broken our brains are if we're making callbacks to the 14th mitten. But that is a good poll.
That's how unhealthy we are.
Let's see here. Should we we do have, here's, you close your eyes. It's week 17. Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and Bijan Robinson all get shut down. Desmond Ridder throws a bomb to Mac Hollins as they try to get back into the game while Khalil Herbert and Deontay Foreman salt the clock on the other side.
Mac Hollins or Scotty Miller?
Oh, I'm team Mac Hollins, baby.
Okay.
Oof.
Mac Hollins did earn targets last year.
I can't believe I got sniped on a naked Brock Purdy drafter. That is Wilkes. Reveal yourself.
It's perfect.
Wilkes. Fucking Wilkes.
All right. We're going to this is so ugly.
I think my team came out pretty well. I like this draft. Want to come back anytime.
Mine
yeah, Daigle, it's really nice if you just want to host all the Splash Play shows so Spags and I don't have to host and we can just draft good
so I could sacrifice my teams. Yeah. this one. I mean, look at these tight ends in general. These guys, my God. That's awful.
Yep. Mayer falls a lot into the 18th lately, and I was hoping that was going to be the case today, but he goes in the 17th. But he would have been a nice little pick at the end. I don't know. I like Mayer a lot.
And I don't mind tacking on like Garoppolo if you have QB3 builds. Because, again, all we're hoping is weeks 15 through 17. I don't give a shit about the first month of the season.
Yeah, and everything says he's going to be ready for training camp, and McDaniels has given some snarky quotes about it already. Like, I think people really got scared off of that one, but making a bet on Jimmy, it's it's going to feel uncomfortable no matter what, but I think he's going to play.
CJ Stroud 214. That has to be just the stacking options or lack thereof, because he does have the 180 ADP.
I think Stroud's better than people realize. He's not quite AR tier, but he was a gunslinger in college, and I think in a blank canvas of that offense, like they're going to try to throw the ball. I would hope.
He has significantly more rushing upside, like altogether, than Bryce Young too.
Yeah.
As I load back up this stream for everyone, do one of y'all have a thoughts on the Gauntlet this year?
Wait, you're talking about the playoff contest?
Oh, is that what he's talking about?
Yes.
10-minute. Are you already asking about the playoffs?
I mean, my brain is already so fried. I don't know if I can start talking through Gauntlet strategy in June.
All right, let me never mind. We don't need to talk about that. I appreciate you 10-minute. But we got to get through 150 entries first, and then we can talk about the Gauntlet.
My brain literally just like short circuited, like thinking about the Gauntlet. I was like,
is there a Gauntlet going on now? Like, that I'm missing something? But no, that is, it's a little early. A little early.
Popping out this board for everyone. Let's do this. There we are. All right, Pete, since you're the highlight, number 45 in the books. I hosted, so you could have a good team. Please tell us you had the right results.
Yeah, this isn't one of those teams that just like feels so good. You're like, yeah, everything came together how I wanted. I do like my Charger stack I got with Herbert, Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen, and Everett. Getting sniped on that QB2 kind of made me feel a little worse about this draft. I was excited about Howell or Purdy to kind of complete that team. Feel good about my running backs, getting that anchor, Eckler, and a value on all of my other running back picks, Alexander Mattison, Brian Robinson, Khalil Herbert, and a little handcuff, Deontay Foreman, all past ADP. I think my wide receivers for this room are fine. I did get 5 through the first, 7 or 8 rounds there. Garrett Wilson, Deebo Samuel, Keenan Allen, Tyler Lockett, Brandon Cooks, and then took on some flyers there, Skyy Moore, Marvin Mims, Matt Collins, then ended up with a 3 tight end room, David Njoku, Gerald Everett, Sam Laporta. Also have lots of little week 17 mini correlations there. Njoku with Garrett Wilson, Laporta with Brandon Cooks, and all of that good stuff. So I like how this team shook out. But I would have liked Brock Purdy, which if you would have told me that back in the Gauntlet drafting days, I wouldn't have believed you.
Spags, I hosted. I took the bullet so you could have a good team. How did it go?
This is one of my favorite teams that got built on stream this year. Got Jalen Hurts as a 9-pick ADP discount. I also got DeAndre Swift as a 14-pick ADP discount, so that feels pretty good. But my Hurts is stacked with Swift, with A.J. Brown, with Devonta Smith, and with Dallas Goedert. Also got Daniel Jones triple stack. So everything I said about that being a low-volume pass game offense, throw it out the window for this build. He's going to throw the ball quite a bit to Wandale and Isaiah Hodgins and Slayton. I also got at running back Zach Charbonnet, Eli Mitchell, Roshan Johnson, Singletary, Mostert. Those are all 0 RB guys I think are perfectly viable. Enough guys with the role and some rookies in there. And at receiver, Jerry Jeudy, Michael Pittman, Quentin Johnston, some week 17 correlations. And the piece de resistance, Daigle, is going to be Trey McBride, the guy who wins me week 17 with that Eagles alpha stack there. So again, love this team. Makes sense. And I think I'll write you a check, Daigle, for a quarter or so, maybe $5, a Big Mac meal.
I hope all the Giants' touchdowns against the Rams in week 17 come on the ground, not through the air.
Tough but fair.
My 4 RB team, because I started 2 anchors with Chubb, Breece Hall, week 17 correlation. I thought I would do Deshaun Watson. That kind of fell as Watson went here. Then I struggled to stack the Texans and Titans since I passed on Nico Collins thinking I could get him on the comeback. Yeah, it's rough in these streets. Aaron Rodgers in Cleveland. It's not good. Also, the Bears in Atlanta. I'll be banking on as well. But that's what happens. No worries. bullet number 19. All right, Pete, tell everyone where they can find all your work and all your streams you're doing.
Yeah, I do have a playlist on my channel. If you do want to go and get more entry giveaways, you can go find that playlist where I put any of my 150 stream drafts. So you'll see this one, the Swolecast, Spags and I, and Splash Play, all of them on my channel. Made it easy for you there. And again, a reminder, the second this stream ends, leave a comment that will get you an entry in my giveaway. But yeah, that's the best place to find all of my streams. And I definitely tweet out whenever I'm hopping on a stream as well. So you can always follow me on Twitter there. Feels good to be back on the 4for4 airwaves. Old people will know, like, if you scroll through the archives of 4for4, you can find some very old videos that I was hosting and making on the channel back in the day.
We distance from Fantasy Mensa videos. We don't discuss them.
The most viewed videos on this channel are like back in like 2017 when I was doing top 5 running backs to draft right now. And they were getting like 60,000 views on the channel back in the good old days before YouTube got saturated by idiot streamers in backwards hats.
And saturated by then everyone making top 5 or buy sell videos. Yeah, you came first, as you always do. Right. Spags, what about what's going on at Splash Play and everywhere else?
Yeah, Splash Play, of course, the channel to follow on YouTube. Pete and I do double headers there, one stream on his channel, one stream on the Splash Play channel. And Fridays, I spin a wheel. And I don't know where I came up with this idea, Daigle, but spinning a wheel, great way to make content, great way to do a stream. So spin a wheel, take an NFL team, and then draft around that, what the wheel gives me. So last week, I stacked up Commanders and Titans. That ended up pretty poorly. You know, it's fun sometimes, but it is a way for me to get different in drafts. So a little bit of the entertainment value, hopefully, with me drafting some teams that I wouldn't draft normally. But that's the fun that I have there. And in Football Outsiders, hopefully we'll look a little better come July, but that's been a haul, but we're getting there and trying to figure some things out. So both those things would be great things to check out to support your football knowledge.
Well, thanks to both of you for accommodating your children and instead drafting with me early this afternoon. We will be back next week, regular time, with Hayden Winks and a couple other guests at 6 p.m. Eastern next Wednesday. And on the podcast feed this week, Denny Carter joined myself to give his worst takes. We luckily didn't record it. It was kept in secret just between the two of us. So it's there for everyone. Until then, be a little bit kinder than what's required. We'll see you next time.